Welcome to the AmeriCorps New York 2025 Competitive Pool Programmatic and Technical Information Session. My name is Yanuti Nkombian, Program Administrator with the New York State Commission on National and Community Service. I am here with
Casey Vincelette, Program Administrator with the Commission.
In this info session, we'll go over an overview of AmeriCorps state and national programs, a list of programmatic documents and AmeriCorps that would assist you in working on your proposal. We'll also go over the calendar of events that is specific to RFP 1188, AmeriCorps funding priorities of this opportunity, explain the new or additional project request and information on evidence tier and quality. The New York State Commission on National and Community Service promotes volunteerism and community service as part to solve local problems, directs national service policy for the state, and administers funding awarded by AmeriCorps to support AmeriCorps New York State programs. Awards AmeriCorps grants to nonprofit, faith, and community-based organizations, public agencies, Native American tribes, and institutions of higher education that would operate solely in New York State. What is AmeriCorps? AmeriCorps grants are awarded to eligible organizations proposing to engage AmeriCorps members in evidence-based or evidence-informed interventions to strengthen communities. 2, each organization uses its AmeriCorps funding to recruit, place, and supervise AmeriCorps members, many of whom receive a living allowance and other benefits, including an education award upon successful completion of their term. AmeriCorps specific provisions and terms. 1, it is solely for program-related expenses and not for general organizational expenses. 2, includes an allotment of AmeriCorps member positions and funds that are directly tied to the number of members. 3, the requirement that grant recipients must contribute cash or in-kind match. Please note that later on in this presentation, we would also provide a breakdown of the different matching requirements by grant type. Calendar of events. The Commission recommends that those who wish to submit additional projects do so by November 23, 2024. We also suggest you ensure your organization is pre-qualified in the statewide financial system SFS by November 23, 2024, and no later than the deadline for submission of proposals listed in the calendar of events. Applications are due to the New York State Commission in eGrants, the secure online system, by Monday, December 16, 2024, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. A complete application consists of a narrative, a budget and performance measures, plus a few supplementary items such as letters of commitment from significant community partners that are submitted via email. The narrative will ask you to address specific criteria as outlined in the Notice of Funding Opportunity that would include 1, describing the community and logic model, which is the visual representation of an applicant's theory of change for your AmeriCorps program and the impact members would have in the community. 2, demonstrating your organization's capacity to manage the program and administer a federal grant. 3, explaining how your program is cost-effective solution to your documented needs. Now let's look at some of the programmatic documents that the proposal would require. We hope that you have taken the opportunity to review the 2025-2026 AmeriCorps New York Competitive Request for Proposals along with the resources documents linked in the RFP. The NOFOs should read as backgrounds for the RFP, along with AmeriCorps Regulations 45 CFR 2520-2550. 2. The dates listed in this material are not applicable to the RFP. Please follow the days listed in the calendar of events in section 1.2 of the RFP. And then finally, note that the bidder's notice points out all the significant changes as of last year. I'll now turn the mic over to Casey to take over the submission of proposals and New York State supporting documents.
All proposals are submitted in AmeriCorps-hosted web-based system, eGrants. At the homepage, you will select New to create a new application. During the selection, you will be asked the Notice of Funding Opportunity, or NOFO, and state you are applying to. There will be over 20 NOFOs to choose from, and there are 2 possible NOFOs this RFP is associated with, depending on the type of application you will be submitting. Afterward, eGrants will bring you to a Notice of Funding Availability screen. First, we choose AmeriCorps and click Go. Once you click on Go, a list of 16 different Notice of Funding Availability, or NOFA, will appear. The 2 NOFAs that correspond with this RFP are FY 2025 AmeriCorps State and Territory Commission New and Continuations, FY 2025 AmeriCorps State and Territory Commission Fixed Amount EAP New and Continuations. While the NOFA listed a due date of January 23, 2025, please kindly disregard that, as that is a due date for competitive funding opportunities. Please verify the Prime Application ID if you are applying to Competitive Cost Reimbursement or Planning Grant. It should be 25 AC 269830. Please verify the Prime Application ID if you are applying to Competitive Fixed Cost Grant. It should be 25 ES 269832. These required New York State supporting documents can be found on the OCFS Forms page at ocfs.newyork.gov/search/docs.phpre. Please note that with Requirement H, all applicants must apply with the System for Award Management, or SAM, at www.sam.gov/SAM/ prior to submitting an application by submitting either 1. Proof of registration with an active SAM registration, or 2. Documentation that your organization has applied for SAM registration. This could be an electronic copy of a receipt, screenshot, or other documentation. Failure to submit this information at the time of application submission will result in the disqualification of the application. Yen, take it away.
Thank you, Casey. So now let's turn our attention to minimum qualifications. AmeriCorps New York grants are awarded to public and private nonprofit organizations, including but not limited to faith-based organizations, other community organizations, institutions of higher education, state agencies, or other non-federal government entities within state or territories, Native American tribes, labor organizations, partners and consortia, and intermediaries that would operate solely in New York State. All applications at the time of application submission must include the following: failure to include a unique entity identifier, which is the UEI number. 2, an employer identification number at the time of application submission would result in disqualification of the application. Please note UEI number does not replace the employer identification number. Effective January 16, 2024, grant management is now in SFS. All requirements remain the same. Only the platform for grant management has changed from Grants Gateway to the New York State statewide financial system SFS. Agencies that use the Grants Gateway for specific grant programs and business functions now use SFS for those grants, programs, and other same business functions. Nonprofit organizations must pre-qualify to do business with New York State agencies before they can compete with state grants. The process allows nonprofits to address questions and concerns prior to entering a competitive bid process. Nonprofits are strongly encouraged to begin the pre-qualification process as soon as possible. Vendors registered with the New York State Vendor ID can use the statewide financial system SFS vendor portal to check the status of invoices, purchase orders, and payments, submit electronic invoices or e-invoices, update contact address and payment information, sign up for electronic payments. To become pre-qualified, a nonprofit must first register with the State Financial System, SFS. Once registered, nonprofit complete an online pre-qualification application. This includes answering basic questions regarding the organization and uploading key organizational documents. Be pre-qualified in SFS if you're not exempt on the application deadline, or be pre-qualified within 30 days of the award letter date if selected for funding. OCFS, in its sole discretion, reserves the right to extend this deadline if it is determined to be in the state's best interest to do so. Now, this is a disclaimer. New York State reserves 5 to 10 business days from the receipt of complete pre-qualification application to conduct its review. If supplementary information or updates are required, review time will be longer. Due to the length of time this process could take to complete, it is advised that nonprofit pre-qualify as soon as possible. Failure to successfully complete the pre-qualification process may result in the grant application be disqualified. Pre-qualification requirements. Nonprofits must receive approved pre-qualification status prior to grant application and execution of contracts. Grant proposals from nonprofits that are not pre-qualified in SFS at the application dates and time will not be evaluated. Such proposals will be disqualified from further consideration. Required documents. Certificate of Incorporation, IRS 501C, IRS 990, Audit Review and Findings, CHA 500, Board of Directors Profile, Senior Leadership Resume, and Corporate Bylaws are examples of required documents. Once the document vote is in expired status, the grantee is no longer pre-qualified. Also, if the document vote is in the status of document votes modification required, there are sections that need attention before the document vote can be pre-qualified. Run the state pre-qualification application status report to determine what action is required. Certain financial documents and forms must be updated each year. To remain pre-qualified and eligible for state grant awards, once pre-qualified, it is the responsibility of nonprofits to maintain pre-qualification. These are 3 of the nonprofit's essential financial documents: the IRS 990 Financial Statement and Charities Bureau filing expires on annual basis. A nonprofit must upload current versions of these documents and submit an updated pre-qualification application for review and approval each year to maintain pre-qualification. Nonprofits are provided a full 10.5 months from the end of their fiscal year to provide a current IRS 990 or financial statement without the interim requirement of uploading extension requests. There are no pre-qualification exemptions under the January 16, 2024 pre-qualification policy. However, if you are a volunteer fire department applying for the Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services Volunteer Fire Infrastructure and Response Equipment Grant Program opportunity, the previous volunteer fire department exemption process will be honored. Begin by navigating to the SFS vendor portal. Enter your user ID and password and select the I agree vendor online services terms of service checkbox. Click the sign in button. This will take you to the homepage. You will find a number of tiles. Click the grant management state tile. An alternative navigation will be from the nav bar, navigate to menu, click on manage events and place bids, and then click on qualifications. Then you click on manage pre-qualifications and add your vendor ID. What happens if you fail to maintain your vendor information? It is important to keep your vendor information up to date in the SFS vendor portal. Failure to do so may result in payment delays. You will need to dedicate an assigned person called the delegated admin role. That will ensure the correct contact information, email address, and payment information is set up and updated when needed in the SFS portal. And then add and remove additional contracts to the SFS vendor portal, request a change or replacement for the primary contact, and then reset and unlock user password. Please consult the SFS grantee user manual for guidance regarding how to complete this process. The grantee user manual can also be obtained by logging into the SFS vendor portal and locating the training materials or SFS coach. A series of virtual training sessions has been recorded on how to use SFS and is available in SFS coach for viewing on demand. Vendor responsibility is performed after an award is made, and it's a process required by the Office of State Comptroller, OSC, in order to contract with New York State. Please remember that submission of documents can be mailed to AmeriCorps rfp@ocfs.ny.gov, or you see the RFP session 5.5 for the instruction on submission of proposals outside of e-grants. Deadline again is Monday, December 16, 2024, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, Casey, take over.
Section 4.1, AmeriCorps Funding Priorities. The first of the AmeriCorps funding priorities is to serve communities. Serve communities with concentrated poverty, rural communities, tribal communities, and historically underrepresented and underserved individuals. These may include people of color, immigrants, refugees, people with disabilities, LGBTQIA+ individuals, people with arrest or conviction records, religious minorities, etc. Implement programs for or expand access to high-quality youth mental health and substance use recovery services, and prepare AmeriCorps members to enter behavioral health careers. These may include individuals with lived experience with substance use and mental health challenges to support youth mental health efforts and continued AmeriCorps work on the opioid epidemic. Focus on improving the quality of life for veterans, active duty members of the armed forces, and their families by recruiting veterans, military spouses, and their older children into national service. Promote environmental stewardship to help communities, especially underserved households and communities, to be more resilient by reducing greenhouse gas emissions, conserving land and water, increasing renewable energy, and improving at-risk ecosystems. Support civic bridge building programs and projects to reduce polarization and community divisions, and providing training in civic bridge building skills and techniques to AmeriCorps members. 2. Benefit AmeriCorps members. Provide benefits to AmeriCorps members aimed at enhancing member experience and bolstering member recruitment and retention, such as paying more than the minimum living allowance, transportation, housing, food, etc. Create workforce pathways for AmeriCorps members, including deliberate training, certifications, and hiring preferences or support. Enhance and expand services to Second Chance youth and/or engage those youth as AmeriCorps members. Develop and train the next generation of diverse public health leaders through service while addressing pressing community health challenges. Review Public Health AmeriCorps priority in the mandatory supplemental information for eligibility information. 3. Use evidence. Utilize reports from the AmeriCorps Evidence Exchange on programs assessed as having moderate or strong evidence to scale, replicate, or adapt the intervention. 4. Faith-based organizations. 5. American Climate Corps. Propose projects affiliated with the American Climate Corps, or ACC, which is a federal government national service and workforce development initiative focused on training young people for the clean energy and climate resilience workforce. Applicants submitting a workforce development project to qualify for affiliation with the ACC should note that in their application, successful applicants will be notified if they are part of the ACC and may be subject to additional reporting requirements. To receive priority consideration, applicants must show the priority area is a significant part of the program focus and intended outcomes. Priority consideration does not guarantee funding. Section 4.2, Program Requirements. The Commission has determined that an AmeriCorps program funded under this RFP must propose a minimum of 10 member service years, or MSYs. 1 member service year, or MSY, is equivalent to a full-time AmeriCorps position, at least 1,700 service hours. AmeriCorps' general practice is to award no more than 50 member positions or slots to organizations receiving an AmeriCorps grant for the first time. New York State governmental entities approved for AmeriCorps funding will be compensated on a cost reimbursement basis only. Please submit your budget accordingly. If a program chooses to provide a living allowance to a less than full-time member, it must comply with the maximum limits in the table on the following slide. Member service year, or MSY, is 1 member service year, or MSY, is equivalent to a full-time AmeriCorps position, at least 1,700 hours. Per 42 U.S.C. subsection 12581A, the corporation may provide the operational support under this section for a program in an amount that is not more than $800 per individual enrolled in an appropriate national service position, or not more than $1,000 per such individual if at least 50% of the persons enrolled in the program are disadvantaged youth. Member living allowance is not a salary or a wage. Funded organizations are responsible for withholding income tax and FICA. Maximum cost per member service year, or MSY. The maximum cost per MSY is not to be confused with the maximum member living allowance. AmeriCorps cost per MSY is determined by dividing AmeriCorps' share of budgeted grant costs by the number of MSYs requested. All grantees are capped at a maximum cost per MSY. It does not include childcare or the value of the education award a member may earn. The maximum cost per MSY for this funding opportunity are set forth in the FY25 NOFO. Applicants must demonstrate the ability to meet the match requirements at the time of application submission. AmeriCorps requires that 2025 through 2026 AmeriCorps ASN applicants applying for cost reimbursement grants submit their applications with applicable match and any alternative match schedule proposed. Fixed amount grants are for recompeting applicants only. Following the first 3-year contract term, and each time an applicant recompetes, the match requirement gradually increases every year to 30% by year 10. Performance measures. All applications must include at least one aligned performance measure, output and outcome, that corresponds to the proposed primary intervention. This may be a national performance measure or an applicant-determined measure. All applicants should use both performance and evaluation data to assess their work and be prepared to make tactical and strategic adjustments to achieve their goals. Additional performance measures, including output-only national performance measures, may be included if desired. However, all performance measures must be consistent with the program's theory of change and represent significant program activities. The standard forms 424 SF 424 form families represent the government-wide standard data sets and forms for grant application packages, which were developed in partnership with federal grant-making agencies and the applicant community. The application page limit does not include the budget, performance measures, or any required additional documents. The length of a document in word processing software may be different than what will print out in AmeriCorps' web-based system. Submitted materials that exceed the page limit in the printed eGrants report will not be considered during proposal review. The system will not prevent an applicant from entering text that will exceed page limitations. This applies to both the narrative page limit and the logic model page limit. Section 4.2, New, Same, or Additional Projects. Requests to be considered a new project should include information about how the new project differs from the previous project in the characteristics noted above. The request should also include the proposed name of the new project. Commission staff will review the request to determine if the proposed project does represent a meaningful difference from the previous project, or if the proposed project is an example of natural program evolution over time. Please note that these requests have to be submitted significantly in advance.
There will be a question and answer session on November 6, 2024 at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Please review the RFP and this recording and come ready with your questions. The link to the webinar will be posted on our website. Please send your questions in advance to AmeriCorps@ocfs.ny.gov. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Goodbye.